These are shots that I either took or purchased in Europe from October of 1952 until April of 1954. Here we have the America House, formerly known as the Führerbau, and the room underneath the American shield, and right above that balcony is the room where Hitler, Mussolini, Chamberlain, and whoever the Frenchman was, gave away portions of Czechoslovakia and what was known as the Munich appeasement in 1938. This was to create, as Chamberlain, the guy with the umbrella, said, peace in our time. This is the Mittelsbach Fountain in Munich.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, we got to show the naked, whatever. It's called art when it's in a statue. In life, it's pornographic. Okay, next. This is the Karlsplatz. This is 42nd Street, Times Square. This is the center of hustling, bustling downtown Munich. This is taken from the roof of the Old Peter, one of the churches in downtown Munich,
You don't want to see this?
showing the Munich skyline. This is the Chinese Tower. It's a beer hall in the English Garden. The beer costs more as you go towards the top, because obviously the waitress has to carry the beer further.
That's in Germany?
This is in Munich, yes.
The Chinese place.
It's called the Chinese Tower, but it's really a beer hall. This is the Haus der Kunst, the House of Art. Cornerstone was laid by Hitler, and at the time this picture was taken in the early 50s, a small portion in the back was a plush American Officers Club, and the remainder of it was indeed a House of Art, or Haus der Kunst. This is a ruined art museum in the area across from our opening shot. Hitler paved in the entire square, the entire street, so that he could stand on the steps of the art museums and review his stormtroopers. This was before he had seized complete power. This is one of the gates. I'm not sure, but I think if this isn't the Karls Gate off of Karlsplatz, the shot in downtown Munich, it might be the Isar, the river gate, but I'm quite sure it's the one looking away from downtown Munich through the Karls Gate. This is the bottom of the Angel of Peace, an anti-war memorial. This is the Mittelsbach Palace. I don't know who Mittelsbach was, but it's a small palace in downtown Munich. I think it was a royal family, perhaps, of Bavaria, I'm not sure. And this is a distant shot of the Chinese Tower, that beer hall in the... Yes, this is probably one I took. This is a monument in downtown Munich. When Hitler tried to seize power back in the 20s, he and his stormtroopers came charging out the street on the left. The monument in the middle is a duplicate of one that appears in Venice. The Bavarian National Guard came charging out off to the right of the camera. They fired into the crowd, and Hitler and his people were captured and thrown in prison. While in prison, Hitler wrote his famous Mein Kampf. The funny-looking building in the back, which looks like two smokestacks, is really two church steeples. This is the Frauenkirche. It was, while they were building the towers several hundred years ago, it was struck by a twin bolt of lightning, damaging the roof of both towers. And they decided, the superstitious Catholic people of Munich decided this was a message from God to stop. And so they were domed over and capped like two broken stubs. This is the Monopteros. It's a miniature Greek temple. It's also in the English Garden, where the same park where the Chinese Tower is located. There's another shot of the Führerbau, or the America House, where the Munich appeasement was signed. This is a scene of the main administration building of the University of Munich. And as you can see, in 1952, 53, 54, they were rebuilding. It was heavily damaged by incendiaries during World War II. British bombers, I believe. This is the Prinzregenten Theater. This was the only opera house in business when I was there, although just before I left, the main opera house in downtown Munich was reopened. But this was a festival theater, supposed to have only summer sessions, but it lasted all year round. I went here 3 or 4 times. It was built for the operas by Richard Wagner, and so naturally in the gardens around the theater there is a statue of white marble of Richard Wagner. This is, in that sunken area, there is a statue of a dead German soldier. It's called the Soldier's Tomb, although to my knowledge there is nobody buried there. It's a monument to the dead of Bavaria who died in the German army in World War I. Up above we see the ruined Bavarian Army Museum, and it was decided that what better tribute to the folly of war than to leave the Army Museum in perpetual ruins. It was a replica of that famous gate in Rome, of which the Eiffel Tower, pardon me, the Arc de Triomphe was copied. Also this one was too, but as you can see, the bomb damage, incendiary heat, just completely ripped the surface off the arch. The arch stood up, but the engraving, the statuary was completely destroyed, and as late as early 1954, they were still trying to restore it. This is a garden in busy, bustling downtown Munich. Off to one side is the ruined Bavarian Army Museum we saw a few seconds ago. And in the background we have the new opera house, which at this time is almost finished. This is a parade. There are 2 parades each year. They're very similar. One is Fasching, which is like a Mardi Gras parade. The other one is in the fall, which is the famous Oktoberfest parade. They're both very similar. Everybody puts on their old-fashioned costumes, and we have pa bands and what. Another scene from the parade. Obviously, this is the float from the Lowenbrau beer brewery. This is a maypole. This is another scene from the parade. Another scene from the parade.
In any of these pictures?
No, because I'm taking the pictures. The symbol of the city of Munich is the monk child, or the Münchner Kindle. Every year for this parade they elect someone, and this particular year's Münchner Kindle, or monk child. This is the 98th General Hospital, which was later redesignated the 2nd Field Hospital. This was the United States Army Hospital in Munich, Germany. This is the Theatina Church. This is near that square where Hitler staged his revolt and was captured by the police. As the name Theatina implies, it was a church originally for theater people. Something on the idea of the little church around the corner in New York City. And this is the famous Hofbräuhaus. In München steht ein Hofbräuhaus, 1, 2, so forth. Famous beer hall. One of the most famous beer halls in the world.
What's this?
It's a step-like architecture. I'm not sure. I can't make out I'm not sure, but I think this is Count Rumford of Woburn, Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah?
A famous Tory in the American Revolution, who, when he was kicked out of America, he was a scientist and hired himself out to the various crowned heads of Europe. Obviously, he did some time in the service of the Royal King of Bavaria. He was a Tory. His side lost. Tory was loyal to the King of England. This is the famous Rat House. No rats live there, but the rat is the German word for city council. The dark area, about halfway up the tower, is the area where the famous figurines, or glockenspiel, comes out every day at 11 o'clock and dance around. It used to stop traffic every day. That in later years, they just blocked off the street permanently and set up a sidewalk cafe in the square in front of the rat house. The public could go all the way up to the top, and I've been up to the top many times to take shots across the rooftops of Munich.
That's got a beautiful view.
Yes, it is. On a clear day, you can see the mountains. This is the Royal Palace of Nymphenburg, because up until 1917, Bavaria was a separate kingdom, a separate country. It had its own king. Obviously, one of the kings was in love with the French culture of Louis XIV. And everything about this palace is patterned after the French royal palace. Here's a close-up of the figurines in the clock tower, the Glockenspiel in downtown Munich, rat house. These figures come around in circles and spin and dance like a miniature merry-go-round. This is the bathhouse at the Royal Palace of Bavaria. The king was very modest. He didn't want to see him, so he built this very elaborate building over his swimming pool so that the general public wouldn't see him. This is the statue of Bavaria. This is a woman holding a wreath high in her left hand, her right hand, resting on the mane of a lion. This lion is so big, and of course the statue even bigger, that the head of the lion can hold 3 people going up inside. I've been there many times.
Did you go up inside?
Yes, this is another shot of the Haus der Kunst, the House of Art, which also had part of it used as an American Officers Club. This is the Bavarian Parliament building. As you can see, it is on the banks of the Isar River. It's I-S-A-R, Isar River. Ah, yes, this is the Isar Tor, or the Isar Gate, the river gate. And a couple of German Hausfraus waiting for the streetcar. This is the prettiest one. This is the Sendlinger Tor. It is, as you can see, a lot of it is covered with ivy. Very pretty, very narrow, very congested by modern traffic. Modern traffic, that's way back in the early 50s. I hate to think what it's like now. Now here are some girls that marched in the parade, and